Doug Smith, resident of Brookings. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Have a word. Well, I'm here kind of representing a group of golfers at Edgebrook. We have some major drought issues there, and so we know that it's in the Park and Rec budget to alleviate the problem, I think. And so there's no time frame set yet that I know of, but if you haven't approved it, we encourage you to approve it. There's a lot of us, and Edgebrook is probably the biggest and best quality of life facility that the city has. And so we would certainly encourage you to approve it. And if you are going to or have approved it, we'd like to say how much we appreciate you doing that. The other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about was the job that Gary has done out there in increasing the number of rounds and the membership, and he just does a terrific job. And Greg and his crew has gotten, that's the only good thing that's come from the dryness, is that it's given him an opportunity to get a lot of other things done. And he's done a terrific job, unbelievable job of other things, removing trees, adding cart paths, working on the sand traps, just a ton of really good things for the course. The only thing that we're lacking now is water and grass. So that's mainly why we're here, a bunch of us. There's several golfers in the audience that, well, yeah, raise your hand.
I was going to say, why don't you guys stand up that are here to represent?
So,
Give us a little bit of a clue why we have such a big crowd.
so we have a pretty good delegation. I had some miscommunication, or I think we would have even had more. But so anyway, that's all I have to say is just thanks for listening, and hope we get it fixed. Thanks.
Thanks for your comments. Any? All right, we'll move on. Consent. Oh.
Brookings here. I was moved here from Howard 3 years ago, and I want to commend you for your statement that you have up there on strategic planning and inclusiveness and diversity. And that's one of the reasons I came, because my son said, "You're retiring, you need to go to Brookings." And I have all my grandkids have gone to South Dakota State. And so when I came here, my grandson challenged me to a golf game. Needless to say, I got defeated, but it's really good to see that, and to see that if you haven't put the budget in, it's a good thing to do, because it does bring a lot of things. In economic development, I spent a good part of my life on strategic planning, working with a number of companies and entities, and one of the things they always look at is your golf course, and we live on 20th, and we come off of that intersection there. Wow, it's really beautiful. And if you had the water there, that's a good public relations to have people come across that and see that. And Gary does such a good job. I come here on the retirement, I got to meet some really good old guys. And so I'm one of them old guys. So I want to thank you. And if you got that in your budget, I think it's a wise move. So thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I'm George Eust from Brookings here. I want to speak a little bit more about the golf course. Something has already been said, but I think the course could be very nice. You got the right people there working. You just need water. And it's almost, for times during the summer, it's almost unplayable. With this new bypass, just like the gentleman ahead of me said, you come off that, when we had that rain in August, that was impressive. When you came over there and looked over that golf course, new people coming to town, pretty impressive when you looked at that. when we don't have the rain, it looks like a dried up cow pasture. And that's not very impressive. The other thing is I've had friends, relatives come into town and they are not impressed at all. And they're not going to play the course in this condition. You're losing revenue. And also, I think it's almost to the point of losing some membership if the course isn't taken care of. And you got all the people there, you just need the water. But thank you for your time.
Brookings here, 4.5 years. I was just wanted some clarification on this sidewalk assessment project. Bought the house, yeah, like I said, 4.5 years ago, and I've asked the city of Brookings to remove these boulevard trees in my yard that have just costed me a lot of money, and now all the sidewalk has been lifted clearly by these tree roots. I took pictures, I brought some paper in, and I just wanted some clarification tonight, what's going on with this and furthermore. Thanks.
John, you want us to respond to that till later on? All right, thank you.
Councilmember, I'm Mark Donahue, resident of Brookings. I had another comment on the sidewalk assessment project. Before we finalize the assessment process, I want to make sure a clerical error was addressed that affects me and may affect other residents of Brookings. That error is billing me. I didn't own the property at the time of the project being completed, and I wanted to make sure that got fixed to the rightful owners of said bill. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to consent agenda. Approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, does the council have any questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Stecker.
Aye.
Tiltonburn.
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Motion passes. We'll go on to presentations and reports, and we have a proclamations this evening for Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Could Carolyn Groves come up for to receive this? She's the executive director of the Domestic Abuse Center. Domestic violence prevalent in every community. Community health. And whereas anyone can be a victim of domestic violence, regardless of age, social economic status, sexual orientation, gender, race, religion, or nationality. And whereas domestic violence is a pattern of assaultive and coercive behaviors in which include physical, sexual, verbal, economic, and psychological abuse that adults and adolescents use against their intimate partner. Now therefore, I, O.P.G. Niemeyer, Mayor of the City of Brookings, State of South Dakota, do hereby proclaim October 2023 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We call upon all of Brookings to be open to understanding the nature of domestic violence, to advocate for the use of tolerance, support, and reason in the face of conflict and against the use of violence, to empower those who have been victimized by violence to promote a less violent society by modeling, educating, and promoting alternatives to violence.
All right, good evening, everyone, and thanks for being here. My name is Carolyn Galvin, and I'm the Executive Director of the Brookings Domestic Abuse Shelter. I started at BDAS in June of 21 as the Executive Assistant to then the Director, Margot Dempsey. After Margot passed away unexpectedly this past March, I took over the role of Interim Director and then accepted the position as Executive Director. I never knew that when Margot would say, "I'm training my replacement," that would happen so soon. The shelter currently has 11 advocates. We have 3 full-time day staff, our shelter supervisor, rural advocate, and myself, and they're here with me, but are too shy to stand up. A new position to the shelter is our case manager, who currently works 32 hours a week. We then have 7 part-time advocates, including our Spanish interpreter. The part-time staff help cover the weekends, evenings, overnights, and holidays. The shelter is once again staffed 24/7 and has been since June of this year. It's the first time that we've been fully staffed since March of 2020. So I wanted to give a quick summary of our services that we provide and that we've been able to help the past year. So from October 1st of 22 to August 31st of 23, we have assisted 212 unduplicated individuals, sheltered 42 unduplicated individuals, and provided 2,203 shelter days. And then we also provided 605 services to domestic violence, sexual assault, stalking, and human trafficking victims and survivors. Some other services include, but are not limited to, personal advocacy, support group, referrals, and emergency financial services. I also wanted to mention to keep a lookout on our social media for our October events coming up, and then the Day of Giving coming up in November. So on behalf of all the shelter staff and the victims that we serve, we want to say thank you to all of you in our community. We would not be able to provide the services we do without the help of such generous and caring community. Thank you.
For those that came here for the golf course, just so that everyone knows, improvement plan before this meeting, there was no recommended changes by the city council. The process then is in mid-October, there'll be another work session where outside agencies will be presented. The council have an opportunity to speak on any items that they would like to see changed further in the budget. Then there's a hearing the end of October and a final hearing in November. So there's still process, but at this point in time, staff has made recommendation for approval of the golf course project. Council didn't make any changes to the capital improvement plan with this last session. So just wanted to make sure the golfers in the room understood the process going forward. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us as staff or, of course, the mayor and council members as well.
Okay, SDSU students report, Michael Garofalo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. All right, so we're just going to speed run this really quick. It's been another couple of slow weeks for us. So we've passed 2 pieces of legislation that are significant in the last couple of weeks. We passed an amendment on our campaign button policy. So previously, it was not allowed for any candidate or person supporting a candidate in our elections to wear a button within 50 feet of our polling station in the Union. And we changed that to allow for 2, since there was just clarification on what 50 feet was defined as. And if you were sitting too close to just study or eat, that you'd be violating that policy. So we clarified that, 2 buttons. Then we also passed a resolution last night, or commemoration last night, recognizing September 25th to October 25th as Hispanic Heritage Month. So that has been pretty interesting so far. There's a lot of good events going on with that. If you want to check out the Multicultural Center's page on our website to learn more, I'd encourage you to do that. Future legislation, kind of in the same line with lots of our diverse events, we're talking about a resolution to encourage our senators to attend 4 diverse events per month. So I'll keep you posted on that. That'd be a pretty marginal time commitment, we think, and we're trying to kind of broaden our perspective this year with the new diversity chair position. GAF, we're still working through our GAF strategic plan. Our work group chairs are named. I will be co-chairing the mental well-being work group for that. As far as mental health goes on campus, our wait times for in-person counseling appointments are very far down. To the best of my knowledge, that is because we have a full counseling staff again. I could look into that to be sure, but I would have to infer that that is why we are not seeing multiple week-long wait times like we did last semester. As far as joint ventures with the city, our most important one is the Student Promotion Fund, and that committee, which I chair, met last week, and we awarded dollars to Hobo Night Live and to the Women's Club Volleyball Tournament. Hobo Night Live is sort of our undergrad counter-programming for Hobo Day to encourage students to stay on campus and have a good time instead of going out and doing other things that night. And then the Women's Club Volleyball team requested funds for us for a block of hotel rooms because they're hosting their first tournament in Brookings, which is very exciting. And then the committee will meet again on Thursday to consider the application from Hobo Day itself. That's our biggest allocation. It's about half the fund. We're excited to hear from them. Then moving into e-scooters. So from what we can understand, the format that RFP needs to be sent out in has been changed. So we're looking to get that smoothed over as quickly as we can. And we're probably looking at a soft launch in spring of next year now, just because we've had some internal delays with that. But that is totally okay as long as we keep to continue to get the ball rolling. And then the Student Federation, which I chair, putting on my other hat again, met with the School of Mines and Technology about some of their GAF budgeting issues today. So SDSU does not have any of those problems, but that's just a conversation we're talking about with some of our smaller universities that the Student Association might consider discussing while we talk about the GAF strategic plan. And I'll keep you posted on those developments as well. And that is all I've got.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item 8A on the contracts and change orders section. Action on resolution 23-079, a resolution authorizing change order number 1 for pavement maintenance and rehabilitation project AIP number 3-46-005-037-2023 Varner Asphalt Sealers. Charlie Richter, our city engineer, will present this item.
Good evening. I'm here tonight requesting approval of Resolution 23-79 for change order number 1 for the pavement maintenance rehabilitation project at the Brookings Airport. This project entailed crack sealing and seal coating taxiways at the airport. The change order is for additional routing and sealing of cracks for the runway and taxiways. $56,000, $757. The proposed change order is for $7,588 for an increase of 4.8%. This change order brings the total value of the contract to $164,345.
Charlie, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, any council questions, comments? Please call the roll.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Tilton Burn.
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye. Motion passes. Ordinances and first readings. Item 9A, introduction and first reading on ordinance 23-031, an ordinance to change the zoning within the city of Brookings, portion block 5, original plat addition from residence R2 to two-family district, and business B2A office district to a planned development district with business B1 central district underlying zoning. Mike Struck, our this item.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. The rezoning item before you tonight is a rezone for the East Central Mental Health and Behavioral Center located on 4th Street, just our parking lot. The proposal is to rezone the property, which is a combination of B2A and R2, to a planned development district with an underlying zoning designation of B1. The B1 zoning designation is consistent with our comprehensive plan that identifies that area as part of the downtown business district. I need to remind everybody in attendance, with the planned development district, it's a two-step, or it's actually a three-step process, but a two-step process associated with the rezoning. The first action tonight is first reading. October meeting will be the second reading and public hearing on the rezone. If approved, then we'd move to the initial development plan approval at that same meeting. And then if that is approved, then it moves on to a final development plan approval process with the Planning Commission. So it's a multi-step process. Just want to make sure is tonight, please keep comments related to the rezoning and whether or not it's appropriate for rezoning from an R2, B2A district to a planned development district with a B1 underlying. This is consistent, like I mentioned, with our comprehensive plan. It does allow, the rezone, if approved, would support the Ivy Center's proposed expansion and expand mental health care options within our community. It does come to you as a unanimous recommendation, and staff does recommend approval. And with that, I would stand for any questions that you may have.
Seeing none, council have any questions, comments? I have one, Mike. So we're being requested to change this to B1.
It's technically the reason. And then you choose an underlying zoning district. In this particular case, they're seeking the B1 underlying zoning district, primarily because of the kind of proximity to the downtown area of how that area could redevelop in the future. And felt like the B1 would be appropriate in this case. They sought the planned development district because they felt design was critical when you're looking at introducing or expanding kind of an office use into a residential neighborhood. So they felt the PDD was appropriate because there is that design review process that's associated with a planned development district, rather than just a traditional zoning district designation.
Right. We're going that route, that's fine, but the 72-hour parking is B2. We don't necessarily have to have adjoining B1s next to it.
No, we don't.
Okay.
And we actually, on the B2, we felt that in due time, we'll probably see as things change and opportunities present themselves, but we wanted to separate the issues.
Okay. That's the only question I have.
Mayor, I just wanted to make a comment, and I wanted to just for going through the planned development district process. I think it gives an opportunity to share what the ultimate goal of the project is, some of the landscaping details and the other design details. I think this is a project that abuts a residential neighborhood, so I think there's a lot of interest in the project, and going through the PDD process ensures that it's kind of a public-facing part of the design and development process. So I appreciate them kind of going through those steps with us.
Any other questions, comments? All right, we'll move on to the next one. Item 9B, introduction and first reading on ordinance 23-032, an ordinance to change the zoning within the city of Brookings, 1.57 acres in Reserve 4th Edition of business from Business B2A Office District to Business B2 District. Mike Struck, our Community Development Director, will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. The next rezoning request is 20th Street South and east of overhead. It's the kind of red boxed area adjacent to the detention pond. When this property was originally zoned, there was consideration of the adjacent development to the east, and they felt like a B2A, which is an office district, was more appropriate because it had a little less intensive uses. Some of the things that have changed over the time is we've amended our ordinances. We have buffer yard requirements that would now come into play in this particular area with commercial districts where screening, landscaping, tree plantings, and such are incorporated. And so we feel that the B2 is an appropriate zoning designation down in this particular area. There's other B2 in the area to the west, as well as some across the street to the southeast. This does come to you as a unanimous recommendation. Staff does support the rezoning request, and I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Public comment on this item? Seeing none, does council have any questions, comments? At this time, no. All right, let's move on to the 9C, introduction and first reading on ordinance 23-033, an ordinance to change the zoning within the city of Brookings, 0.57 acres on Reserve 4th Edition from Business 3 Heavy District to Business 2 District. Mike Struck will also present this item.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. This is real close to the previous location, just on the west side of Christine. This is a rezoning from a B3 heavy business district to a B2 business district. The primary reason for the rezone is the owner of the property is looking at submitting a preliminary plat for this area, and it would result in some split zoning. So if you look on the zoning map on the overhead, you can see the existing zoning is kind of the yellowish color B2, and to the north is B3. The red outline is the proposed new lot and would result in some split zoning. So it's an effort to clean up the zoning to make it a little bit more consistent. It is supported by the future land use map. It does come to you as a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission, and staff supports the rezoning request, and I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Thanks, Mike. Questions from the public? Council comments, questions? All right, so all three of these items that we've just been presented have a second reading on October 10th. Item number 10, public hearings and second readings. Second reading and action on ordinance 23-028, an ordinance amending and restating the Swiftel Center Advisory Committee ordinance. Kristen Zimmerman will present this item, our Parks and Rec Director.
This is just an amendment to the advisory committee. This ordinance will allow the name change from the Swiftel Center Advisory Committee to the Dakota Bank Center Advisory Committee.
Thank you, Kristen. Entertain a motion to approve. Moving second. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none, council have any questions, comments? All right, please call the roll.
Specker.
Aye.
Tildenburn.
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Motion passes. Item 10B, public hearing and action on resolution 23-088, a resolution levying assessment for concrete maintenance, project number 2022-01 SWR. Charlie Richter, our city engineer, will introduce this item.
Good evening, council. I'm here requesting approval of resolution levying of assessment for concrete maintenance project 2022-01 SWR. This project is an annual project the city performs to maintain sidewalks throughout the city. Every year, city staff inspects 1/5 of the sidewalks in the city and notifies residents of defects in their sidewalks. The city provides them a chance to perform the repair themselves, or have the city repair them and assess it to their taxes. If repaired by the city, residents can either pay the construction cost in its entirety or pay the city over the course of 5 years at a specific interest rate. For this project, in accordance with the city's assessment policy, the interest rate will be 6.91%. I'd like to point out that the public hearing was posted in error with a higher interest rate, but I don't think anybody's going to complain with a lower interest rate. Residents have been notified of this hearing and the cost. Staff recommends approval of this resolution.
Thank you, Charlie. Entertain a motion to.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any public comment on this item?
I just, I talked to an engineer here, and I just wanted for my residents, and I don't know if there's other people on this list that, there's just some concern, at least where I'm at, with these city trees, and they're very nice, big maple trees, but they've caused just a lot of damage underneath with plumbing and lifting the sidewalk, and some of the sidewalk was replaced before I bought where I currently live. So I just, I was just here, I wasn't here to complain, or I just wanted to hear about it, or where I talked to Brookings Tree Service about it, and they told me 2 years ago that they wouldn't cut these city trees down, because I've been fighting these big maple roots for 3 years. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Mark Donahue, Brookings again. Sorry for jumping the gun earlier. I was here to address a clerical issue with the list of property owners being billed. The work was done on my property at a time that I did not own the property. The incoming bill was not disclosed to me by the prior owner, so I just wanted to make sure they were the one being, the ones footing the bill. They're still Brookings residents, so I'd be happy to provide their information for that billing information. Thank you.
Where the resolution of necessity was adopted on May 10th, 2022. So that would kind of be a cutoff date where if the sale occurred after that date, then the prior owner would not be responsible, but vice versa. If that occurred prior to the sale, then the prior owner would need to take care of that.
So based on that information, if you'd leave your information into it and then advise you where we're at. And for the other gentleman, Kristen Zimmerman, our Parks Director, is right over here. I encourage you to visit with her before the end of the evening.
Both of those resolved. Any comments from council? Councilmember Duran.
Thank you. There is an error. Do we approve it as is, and that can still be fixed as staff if needed? Okay.
That'd be correct.
I'm not sure who to direct this, but I think Caleb does bring up an interesting point, and I just think it'd be helpful for public clarification. If you do have a concern about a city-owned tree that you recognize is impacting the sidewalk in front of your home, at what point do you make contact, and what is our typical response before it reaches an assessment stage like this?
And so maybe I'd ask John to come up and speak to that question.
Sorry, Councilman. As to you asked, at what point would you notify the city that you continue to have?
And what would our response be if you're recognizing that this is a city-owned tree on your boulevard that's disrupting the sidewalk in front of your house, and you're seeing, at some point someone's going to have to pay to replace that sidewalk, and I'd prefer it not be me. What is our response?
So what they generally do, they'd either call into engineering or to Parks Department, and then we would go out and assess that tree. And if that still continues to be the part, we'd have to look at our policy here to see whether or not we'd remove that boulevard tree for them and replace it with a smaller tree, or just simply remove that boulevard tree for them. But I think that'd be something we just look at as they come in.
So it's on do we have a policy, or is it on as, each individual case?
I'm going to refer to Charlie on that, because I'm still fresh on that, and I think Kristen, do you know? It's case by case, yeah.
Okay.
Charlie, is it?
Yes, the policy so far that's been used over the last, I'd say 20 years, is that if a sidewalk was heaved because of a boulevard tree, the residents made to pay for it the first time, but they can request to have the tree removed, and it'd be up to Parks to figure out if they would want to remove it or not.
It's just an interesting dilemma, and I think we all value our boulevard trees in our community as something we love in every neighborhood where they exist and where they're mature, but I certainly can relate to Caleb's feelings.
It's kind of an unspoken contract, if you will, with the homeowner. The city plants the trees, the city maintains the trees. We have roughly 20,000 trees in this community that we take care of with 4 employees. With that understanding and that investment, it's the homeowner that's responsible for the sidewalk. If it's something we look to transition, I would also probably recommend we transition and think about those investments of the trees, which are very valuable to the infrastructure, to the environment, and to the neighborhoods as well.
Okay, any other questions from Councilmember Specker?
Replaced this past year, what % of them do you think are due to boulevard trees? Just off the top, like a rough estimate?
We're estimating somewhere around 15%.
Thanks.
Please call the roll.
Tilden Burn.
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
All right, move on to item 10C, public hearing and action on resolution 23-0 assessment for street assessment project number 2021-02 ST and 7th Avenue South. Charlie Richter, our city engineer, will present this item.
Good evening. I'm requesting approval of Resolution 23-89 for the levying of assessments for street assessment project number 2021-02 STA, which was the 15th Street new project. This project included the following work for these collector streets: construction of sewer and water, road construction including grading, pavement, and curb and gutter, the drainage channel widening, and wetland mitigation. This project is complete and requires a public hearing to levy the assessment. Pay the construction costs in its entirety or pay the city over the course of 10 years at a specific interest rate. For this project, in accordance with the city's assessment policy, the interest rate will be 5.49%. Residents have been notified of this hearing and the cost. Staff recommends approval of this resolution.
Thank you, Charlie. Entertain a motion to approve.
Second.
Then move to second. I open public hearing on this item. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, close the public hearing. Is any comments, questions from council? I'm glad this project finally got done, aren't we, Mike? Appreciate Mike McClemens putting the fire to my feet for a long time before we finally got this project taken care of. I know that all the owners along there appreciate it, and we have a good road all the way to the dog park, and we have a connection between some communities now. So it was a good project to get done. It also included quite a bit of water mitigation or stormwater detention. It was more than a one-fold project. So I'm glad this finally is a completed project. With that being said, please call the roll.
Wendell.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Tilden Burn.
Aye.
Item 10D, public hearing and action on commercial corridor design review overlay, district site plan, lot 1, track 2 of the Fox Run addition. Mike Struck, our development director. Item.
Thank you, Mayor and members. Tonight is a project in our commercial corridor along Main Avenue South. This particular project is in the Fox Run addition on the west side of Main Avenue. It's a proposed fitness facility that is being proposed in this particular. They're looking at a shared access coming off of Main Avenue on the south side of their building, and would provide additional access to an adjacent parcel to the south. The plan is to remove their access that is located north of this particular facility. The particular project is asking for 2 exceptions to our commercial corridor design review overlay. In the B2 district, the traditional front yard setback is 25 feet. However, by the commercial corridor code, you are allowed to extend the first story 10 feet into the setback. And so the first level would be allowed by right. They are requesting that the second story also be allowed to extend 10 feet. And the other exception is in regards to the side yard. landscaping requirement. This is something we run into some issues when we look at shared access. It's hard to get that landscaping along the side yard when you have a joint parking lot between you and your neighbor. And so those are the two exceptions that they are asking for. It does come to you with a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission, and the Development Review Team supports the approval of the commercial corridor project. And with that, I would stand for any questions you may have.
Approve?
So moved. Second.
Any public comment on this item? Close public hearing. Any comment, questions from council? All right, please call the roll.
Avery,
Aye.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tilton Burn,
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Item 10E, public hearing and action on a commercial corridor design review overlay. District Site Plan, Lot 1, Block 19, Prairie Hills Edition. Mike Struck, our Community Development Director, will present this item.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Design review overlay district project. East side of the street and moving a little bit further south at the intersection of Main Avenue South and Sweetgrass Drive, I believe it is. This is for a small office building. This particular one, there are no exceptions to the ordinance. They're meeting all of the requirements. They're showing a shared access coming off of Sweetgrass Drive. The building is pushed up towards Main Avenue. And you can see kind of from the site plan, small office location. They did submit, all the submittals are contained in the packet as required. It does come to you as a unanimous recommendation from the Planning Commission and approval of the request, and I'd stand for any questions you may have.
Approve?
So moved.
Second.
Open public hearing on this. Is there any public comment? Seeing none, council have any questions, comments? I've noticed, Mike, in the last two that you've presented to us, including this one, you haven't got space for snow storage. I don't think I've ever seen that before.
That is, we encourage them to incorporate snow storage space. We might as well address it because we're getting closing in on that time of year. Is we are running out of city-owned land for snow storage, and so we're trying to incorporate that into more of the developments so that they don't have to maybe the burden, the expense of hauling it off-site, but then trying to find a site to haul it to. Hopefully, we have a nice winter. John's promised that, so we don't have to fill our snow dump sites up as much, but we're trying to incorporate more on-site.
All right, thanks, Mike. Please call the roll.
Duran,
Aye.
Niemeyer,
Aye.
Rasmussen,
Aye.
Specker,
Aye.
Tilton Burn,
Aye.
Wendell,
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
All right. Item 11A, action on resolution 23-090, a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign and submit an application for financial assistance from the Transportation Alternatives Grant Program for the construction of a shared use path / trail, traffic and calming and pedestrian crossing improvements for Madera Avenue in Brookings. John Thompson, our Public Works Director, will present this item.
Good evening, Mayor. Works. Item 11A is a and submit a $3.8 million application for financial assistance from the Transportation Alternatives Grant Program, commonly referred to as the TAP grant. This application is for the construction of a shared use path, lighting improvements, along with traffic calming and pedestrian crossing improvements on Madera Avenue between 8th Street and North Campus Drive, right across from the university. The purpose of this project is to provide residents with a safe path for bicycling and pedestrian crossing on Madera Avenue by South Dakota State University. The corridor is identified in the city's master transportation plan as an area in need of improvements for pedestrian safety and also in the bicycle plan. Staff has been working collaboratively with the university representatives on development of this conceptual plan, and SDSU is supportive of the concept. If the application is approved by the state, The state will provide 80% of the eligible construction costs, and the city and SDSU will negotiate a split of the remaining 20%. Construction is anticipated, if approved, somewhere in the range of 2025 or 2026. What you see on the screen here, this section of roadway has 14 head crossings. So basically what we're looking at is from North Campus Drive, which I guess I can use a mouse. Here. From North Campus Drive right up here, narrowing the roadway down. Currently it's about 37 feet, and I want to say we're going down to 27 feet, so it'd be one way each way with no parking on each side. And that's one portion of the traffic calming. We keep the crossings in as marked, and as we get down to 8th Street, we put a conceptual roundabout in. This would also help with traffic calming and slow everybody down and add to the pedestrian safety. The roundabout that you see here, it's conceptual by design right now. Ultimately, it may be shifted a little bit to the west, so the line of sight through here would be a little bit better lined up. And that is staff's presentation. If you have any questions.
Okay, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments from the public? Questions from council? Mike, come on up.
I guess I just had a question. So in the graphic there on the top, part of the roundabout cuts. That's outside of what I think is Pugsley Hall from this point of view. This is like down the block for me, but I can't see sideways that well. So I guess I would just ask if like there'd be spots lost there, because parking is one of the biggest like congestion problems we have on campus right now.
So Mike, are you talking about parking in Pugsley?
The top of the graphic there, yeah, right there, like it cuts road kind of bends at. So I just wonder if like
This is just conceptual, and from my understanding,
Right.
it might get shifted, so there may not be any parking spaces lost there.
okay, I was just wondering if that was included.
Thank you. I've got a question. I have to go up and down the street quite often in the evening, and when it's raining, the lighting is terrible.
Yes.
And I'm always concerned about possibly hitting a pedestrian crossing across here that doesn't watch me coming at them. The vision is horrible on that street in the evenings. Is there lighting included in this improvement?
Yes, there will be, it is both on the pedestrian walk paths and on the crossings to help brighten that up.
All right, excellent. Any questions, comments, other?
Niemeyer.
Aye.
Rasmussen.
Aye.
Specker.
Aye.
Tilton Burn.
Aye.
Wendell.
Aye.
Avery.
Aye.
Duran.
Aye.
All right, that basically completes the business this part of this evening. We have a progress report, and our assistant to the city manager, Samantha Beckman, will give us the report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. This is your September 2023 progress report. 22nd Avenue has been substantially completed and open to traffic last Friday. Minor work will continue through mid-October. University Boulevard wrapped up this year as well for Phase 1, and Phase 2 will be completed next summer. Chip sealing around the city has been completed. BMU's 20th Street South and 34th Avenue projects will also be completed in November. Overlays are mostly complete and will be wrapping up in November as well. And then the I-29 interchange opened in July on the 29th, and nearly 200 people attended the ribbon cutting ceremony on August 23rd, where Senator John Thune and Representative Dusty Johnson both praised the public-private partnership that made this project a reality. Mayor Niemeyer spoke about the interchange's impact to safety, connectivity, and future economic development for Brookings. Bose Construction of Brookings was the contractor, and the project cost was about $24 million, 18.7 of which came from the Department of Transportation's BUILD grant. $2 million came from the city, 2 from the county, and then $700,000 from private sources. The Stormwater Master Plan is wrapping up and will come back to City Council in October. The 6 Mile Creek study has been waiting for the new floodplain maps to take effect and will come back in June of next summer. About 50 people attended the September 18th open house about the new FEMA floodplain maps for Brookings County. 3 FEMA representatives were on hand to answer anybody's questions, and a 90-day comment period will be announced later this year. Leachate Vault reconstruction will continue through October, and plans have been approved and contracts have been issued there. The leachate force main to sanitary sewer is still in its design phase. The Solid Waste Division hosted the 3rd annual Household Hazardous Waste event at the Dakota Bank Center on August 26th, and there was a terrific turnout and very positive feedback from that. We had 323 vehicles driving through in that 3-hour event, which was a new record. There were 34,505 pounds, which is about 17 tons of household hazardous waste collected. Paint and oil made up a majority of those collections. And while the event was free, it was also encouraged to donate a non-perishable item to the Brookings Food Pantry. So we thank everybody that did that and for their generosity there. Together, you guys donated 796 non-perishable items and $670 to the food pantry. We appreciate collaborating with Veolia, experts in safely treating, recycling, and disposing of hazardous and regulated waste. And last but not least, we want to give a big shout out to our solid waste and streets crew for helping unload those vehicles, and then all the volunteers that also helped at that event. The Solid Waste Master Plan was presented to City Council last week and will return in October for acceptance. The Master Fill Plan is having a few modifications, and then we're waiting on one more collections truck at the end of 2023. So it's in Sioux Falls right now, so it's just prepping for delivery. Thermoplastic replacement is in progress and will wrap up at the end of September, and then the Public Works Department is still in the development phase for the winter operations plan. The fire department took advantage of the 22nd Avenue reconstruction project and replaced 3 electric unit heaters at the 22nd Avenue fire station with a single natural gas heater. Lighting was also upgraded to LED. The project was originally scheduled for 2021, but due to high cost installing a gas line, the project was postponed until this 22nd Avenue reconstruction was happening. The service line was then installed as part of the project at no cost to the city. And the higher efficiency heater and LED lighting will reduce the overall energy costs for the fire station. And then the fire department also hosted a regional vehicle extrication, training day where they had 39 students from 12 different cities and counties all come to participate in the full day of training. SDSU and Brookings School District are back in session, and during the week of August 17th through the 24th, there were 499 calls to service, 92 of which were parking violations. The Labor Day DUI campaign ended on September 4th, and that had a lot of saturation patrols there. The Citizens First Responder Academy program began on August 22nd. This program occurs Tuesday evenings for 12 weeks and encompasses a lot of speakers about issues involving law enforcement. And this session, there are 8 participants. August 24th was also the last Downtown at Sundown, and the police department had been providing oversight for each of those events. Officers have been conducting daily foot patrols in the downtown district to ensure adequate downtown safety measures are taken. And Chief Drake and Lieutenant Kuhn met with approximately 30 owners, managers, and staff of downtown alcohol establishments to improve partnerships. The police department also recently received a new canine search and drug dog named Teddy. So I thought that was kind of fun. I wanted to put that out there. And she will be doing more advanced training in the near future. And lastly, the police department has been helping the University Police Department with their home SDSU football games. Fencing has been replaced around the playground at Lions Park. A retaining wall has been completed at the Hillcrest Aquatic Center. And an open house was held at the Brookings Activity Center with just over 125 guests and 19 new memberships. The Activity Center also received a $1,000 donation from the local VA auxiliary group. Forestry crews began fall planting this week, and about 300 trees are going to be coming up in the next few weeks here. And then both the Pioneer Park Bandshell and the Hillcrest pickleball courts are in their design phase and will be going for construction planned in September of 2024. And last but not least, we celebrated National IT Professionals Day on September 29th. So we just want to say thank you to Kwaku and Don for all that they do. And then another successful escape room was held at the library from September 18th through the 21st. Intergroup dialogues are off to a strong start with 46 total participants who will meet once a week for the next 5 weeks. And then lastly, yesterday was the first day of fall story time. So if you guys have any questions, let me know.
Any questions?
I would just like to reiterate thank you to 55 employees in this organization, and usually they have 3 or 4 or 5 multiple devices, and they're getting called on all of them, all of those devices. And you can see by the smiles on their face, they're always eager to come to work and help anyone and everyone out. So thank you, Don and Kwaku.
Introduction of new topics for future discussion. We have any topics that council members want to bring up? Okay, we'll move on to October 10th meeting. We've got some appointments to the Board of Trustees for the Brookings Health System. We've got a proclamation, 2 of them. We've got ex officio reports from both BMU and hospital, SDSU students report, and then of course right now we have no first readings or change orders at the moment, and we have those 3 first readings we had this evening. Otherwise, with that being said, executive session. We will enter an executive session pursuant to SDCL 1-25-2.3 for consulting with legal counsel or reviewing communications from legal counsel about proposed or pending litigation or contractual matters, and SDCL 1-25-2.5 for discussing marketing and pricing strategies by a board or commission of a business owned by the state or its political subdivisions when public discussion may be harmful to the competitive position of the business. Therefore, I entertain a motion to enter an executive session.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Please say aye. In favor?
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. We move into executive session, and there will not be any business transactions after this meeting. We will adjourn as soon as executive session is done. Thank you.